Hi, and thank you so much for joining me today for day 5 of Christie's Beautiful Life 30 Days of Sketches round 10. And today's sketch is from my friend Lisa Sikorski, who lives just down the road from me, and I've had the pleasure of meeting her. She runs a fabulous group called Scrapbook on Facebook. If you enjoy sketches, do check them out. So I'm using a photo from our trip to Boston back in 2015 and Vicki Boutin's Fernwood, because I just think that the autumnal colours go really nicely. And this is a picture of Boston Common as we stood at the front of our hotel. We were very fortunate. We stayed in the beautiful Taj Hotel, which was just opposite Boston Common. So I just wanted to document this wonderful photo with all the autumnal colours. Although it was November, the autumnal colours were still very much showing in the leaves, which was wonderful. So I'm pulling out this orange to bring out the colours in those leaves in the trees, and then the blue because of the blue sky. And I'm just trying, and you'll see me struggling a little bit, to work out the mats on Lisa's sketch. I've got it printed out on my desk there in the top left hand corner, you can see it. So there are two mats underneath the 4x6 photo, and then two frames, two halves of frames, top and bottom. So the frame that I'm going to be using is a chipboard frame from 49er Market, and as I say, these papers are from Fernwood, and I've just matted the photo itself, which is a 6x4, as I say, onto white cardstock, and then I've matted it onto some very dark mocha patterned paper from the Fernwood collection. It's the reverse side of one of the papers, and this is the frame that I'm going to be using, and I shall cut it in half because only half of it shows on each side. So like I say, I'm just struggling to get the positioning. I'm not very good at this with sketches. If I'm trying to stay fairly close to the sketch, I really struggle to work out sizings and things. So I started with a 6-inch square here, and I've just cut ½ an inch off each side. So now it's 5.5 inches square, obviously. So just seeing if that's any better. And then I realised that obviously the blue needs to be cut down as well. So taking ½ an inch off the side there, and then I will trim down the length eventually as well. So I've just cut that frame in half, as I mentioned, and now I'm trying to work out positioning again, because when I first put it top and bottom, I'm not entirely certain that that's what I want to do, despite that being on Lisa's sketch. I'm wondering whether to stagger it or not, so I tried staggering, but I'm not sure, and then I realised that the blue is definitely too long, so just trimming that down again, and then once again fiddling, trying to work out exactly where the positioning is going to be, and then using my Tim Holtz edge distresser just to distress the edges of all those papers. So around the edge of the photo, and then the edges of the orange and the blue paper as well. And now I'm finally happy with the positioning. I'm going to go in with my 25mm foam pads to mount the photo, just to make it stand out a bit on the layout, and stick that down onto these mats. And then once that's down, I'll make sure that the mats are properly glued together and glue the frame onto them as well. So coming in with my tea ruler now just to check that everything is square, and then I shall draw around with my pencil so that I can add some mixed media to the background. So just double checking that it is central and square, and then adding my pencil lines. And now that's mapped out and I'm happy with it, I can lift it off and go ahead with the mixed media. So today I'm using the Fernwood stamps, and I'm just using the small leaf from this stamp set, starting with Tattered Rose to bring in some of those pinks that you can see in the photo, and just randomly stamping it above and below where the frames will sit, and in the middle of where the frame will sit as well, because obviously that's going to show through. And then coming in afterwards with tea dye. This will bring in the orangey browns of the leaves. It looks much browner on the screen than it is in real life. You can see when it stamps it's much more of an orange colour. And then just rubbing that off so that I can go in with some green. And I use my bundled sage, which if you've watched any of my videos you probably know is my all-time favourite green when it comes to scrapbooking anyway. So once these stamped images are down, I'm going to water them down and create a watercolour effect. So just squirting them with the water and then carefully dabbing the water around to blend those out. And it just leaves a very faint image and it brings in the colours a bit. But you'll see in a minute, I'm impatient to wait for this to dry. So I actually end up dabbing up that water and it brings a lot of the colour up with it, and then I'll go over with a wash of sage green just to bring some colour back into it. Now while I leave that to dry, I'm just going to come back with my mat and photos and see what I can add to that. In actual fact, I don't get too far, I just add this pin and then it's dry and I come back to it. So you can see all of those images have faded a lot into the background and I'm really happy with the results there. So I've just pulled off the ink splodge stamp from that same Fernwood stamp set and adding those same colours. So starting with Tattered Rose, and then adding some bundled sage, which goes on quite dark. Just checking that I've got all areas covered there. And then I come in with dried marigold and bring in some of the orange. I didn't want it to be quite as deep as the tea dye, so I thought dried marigold would be quite a good alternative there. And next I want to come in with my Vicki Boutin gold glaze. So using the stencil brush from Vicki Boutin, I've got some more of these coming into Hey Little Magpie very shortly. Just rubbing this glaze through I think it's a Cartabella stencil of leaves and vines, and just getting that down. And it really brings the golds from the photo out. I love the effect of this, especially over the green, it just looks superb. It's a nice load of texture there. But I'm not done. I see my ink splat stamp, the smaller one of the two on that stamp set, and decide to try and scrape up some of that gold glaze and add some stamps. It's almost dry, so I have to be careful, but I managed to get some up and it just finishes it off. I really like how that looks. So just, as I say, going over, checking that I've got all areas, and you can see me rubbing it in the glaze because the glaze is drying out. Just trying to pick up a few bits. So now that's dry, I can position the photo mat again, and while it was drying I cut out some butterflies from the vellum paper, which is the speciality paper from the Fernwood collection. So I've got this beautiful yellow one that was on the edge of the paper, so only half of it, but it fits perfectly there. nestled underneath that blue paper, and then a red one and a pink one. So the large red one at the bottom and the more mothy style pink one in the middle. And I stick the first one down and then realise I haven't actually stuck the main photo down, so quickly do that before carrying on any further. Just checking that that's nicely down, and then repositioning that butterfly. And if you just add wet adhesive to the body of the butterfly, the wings raise up really nicely, so it gives dimension and looks like they're flying. It's wonderful. So on this one, just added some to the cut edge as well, so that that stays flat. And then the pink one is just a really subtle addition to that corner on top of the orange paper. So now going through the sticker book from this collection to see what else I can find in it. I think that flower, but I don't like the white edges that you have on these stickers, so I decided not to go with that this time. Always stop at these phrase stickers, I do like these. Nothing. So now the puffy stickers, and I want to choose my title, and I see this phrase right here and I think, yep, that's a good one. So cut the words out independently so that I can make sure that they're positioned correctly for how I want them to look. And again, sticking pretty true to the sketch today, I do add the title more or less where Lisa's got it. Mine's slightly more towards the middle of the layout, just because that's where it fitted better. And because I've got a lot of white space at the top of the photo, the word here actually sits down on top of the photo. So there it is, stuck down. And now just looking to see if there are any other bits that I can add. And I see this gold arrow, which I think will look really nice. Again, because of that white space, the negative space that I've got at the top, the sky, I can layer things over this photo without affecting the integrity of the photo, which is good. So a couple of puffy hearts, that green vine there's the second puffy heart. I don't like that one. I go for a more multicoloured one. I think that one blended into the background a little bit too much. And then onto the chipboard, the 6x12 sticker sheet to see if there's anything on here that I can add. And I find this phrase that says beautiful. So add that as a banner. And then just going through some of my labels that I've stamped myself using from Ellie's Studio, using my Distress Oxides. And having a look through the stickers just to see if there's anything else from the sticker book that I could add down here. And I'm feeling a bit lost because I'm not quite sure, but I find this clipboard and think this is the perfect way of adding my journaling. I don't need to add a lot, but I still want to put a little bit about the photo and where we are. So try putting these labels here, but I'm not entirely convinced. So go through the stickers and remember that they have these lovely gold labels, so that comes in, and that brings the gold in nicely from the stenciling. The vellum butterflies have got the gold, that clipboard's got the bulk gold, the arrow and heart, so it just brings it in nicely to that left hand side. So my journaling just says, this was the view from the door at our hotel, Boston Common. Stunning. So now bringing another sticker in from that sticker book, this circular element, and I like that that has all the colours from the collection. And then I want to use this flower, but like I said before, I wasn't happy with the white border on the stickers, so I just spent a little bit of time cutting that white border off, and I'm much happier once that's done. So there you can see it's not interrupted, and that looks, it just blends in more, which is what I want from that. So just working out whether to layer those on top or underneath the label. And then adding a little star, because I do like clusters of 3. Now back to the chipboard. I just wanted a few little scattering bits, and I love these gold dots that Vicki quite often puts on her chipboard sticker sheets. So a gold one and then one of the coloured ones again at the bottom there. So now adding the date to that gold label, and I realise that the label's way too long and I want to save a piece really for another layout, so just checking that it will work and then pulling it up and cutting the surplus off. And it's not a huge piece, but it can definitely be tucked in somewhere on a future layout. So just working out exactly where to position these pieces now that the label's moved. I decided I want the label to be tucked further under the photo, so I'm much happier with that. I didn't like extending it out too much to the left hand side because we've got nothing extended out to the right, so the balance was a bit off with the layout, and that's why I nestled it back underneath again. So because I've been moving these stickers around so much, I decided probably best to add a little bit of wet glue just to make sure that they did stay in place. And sticking down those chipboard pieces. I don't have great luck with chipboard staying on layouts, so I always find it better to add a bit. And now just going in with some gold splatters, and that's it. So please do check the description box down below to see everybody else who's joining in this hop. There's a playlist so you can just watch to your heart's content. If you feel up to it, I'd love it if you give me a like and a subscribe if you like my channel. I really enjoy making these videos, and it does give me such a boost to see people joining and subscribing. So until tomorrow, thank you so much for joining me. Bye for now.